Okay, welcome back. This is Mr. Hassan's Maths channel. I'm now answering question number 3 from the June 2021 Pure Mathematics P1 paper. This is paper 1, variant 1 from the 9709 Cambridge International A-Level series. And here we have a question about binomial expansion. So we are asked to find the first 3 terms in the expansion of 3 minus 2x to the power 5 in ascending powers of x. So we've got to start from x to the power 0 until we've ended up with 3 terms, and the powers of x have to be increasing. So in order to do this, we can use what's called the NCR method. What I like to do here is I like to put 3 brackets. Okay, one is for the coefficient, the main coefficient, you could say, which you could say Pascal's coefficient. And the other one is for the first term, which is 3 in this case. And the last one is for the second term, which, including the sign, is minus 2x. Right? So the power of the main bracket is 5, and that goes on the top of this NCR bracket here. And if you want to get the first term, okay, and we want to have an ascending powers of x, then this has to start with 0. The power that x has to start with 0. And the other, bracket has to start with the 5. These two have to add up to 5. Okay, and we can write this as 5c0. Okay, because that number will go over here. 3 to the power 5 minus 2x to the power 0. That will give us the first term of this expansion. If I want to find the second term, okay, then I follow the same procedure. There must be a 5 up here, 3 in here, and minus 2 over here. And also for the third term, I'll just set it up like this first. There has to be a 3 here, a minus 2 here, 2x here, and a 5 in here. So this would be 5c0, this would be 5c1, this would be 5c2. This power will be 5, the next one will be 4, the next will be 3. This one decreases, this one increases. That will be 0, that will be 1, that will be 2. You'll notice that these two numbers add up to that number every time, and that the number here is the same as the power there. Okay, that's what we will notice, and that will give us the first 3 terms in the expansion. So for this, you're going to have 5c0. Now 5c0 is 1. Then you have 3 to the power 5. So you can take the calculator, say 3 to the power of 5. That gives us 243. And then you have minus 2x to the power 0, which is also 1. A negative number raised to power 0 is going to be 1. Okay, anything raised to the power 0 is 1. Even if it's a negative, it's inside the bracket. Okay, 2x to the power 0 is going to be 1. So that gives you 243 for the first term. And here we have 5c1, which is 5. And then we have 3 to the power 4, which is going to be 81, times minus 2x to the power 1, which is minus 2x. So you end up with 5 times minus 2, which is minus 10, times 180, which is minus 810 x. Now, if you're not sure about that, you want to make sure you can put this in your calculator and go ahead and do it. You can just say 5c1. How do you do 5c1? 5, shift, then press NCR. Whoops, let me get rid of that first. 5, shift, this bracket, this button, NCR, 1, 5c1. Then you have times 3 cubed. 3 cubed. Then you have times minus 2x to the power 2. I'll leave the x out of it for now. And we'll write that as x squared minus 2 squared. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong one. 5c1, and you have 3 to the power of 4. 3 to the power of 4. You have minus 2x to the power of 1. So I won't write the x, and I'll just write that. And that's going to give us minus 810, and we'll have x because it's x to the power of 1. And if you want to set up the next one, we can do that as well. We have, this is going to be here, 2. And this power is going to be now 3. And this is going to be 5c, this time it's going to be 5c2. Okay, so that should give us 1080, positive 1080 x squared. So we can see 5c2 is 10, 3 cubed is 27, and times minus 2, and this is going to be, plus 2x squared, plus 4x squared. you have minus 2x all squared. It's going to be positive 4x squared. So we're going to have 40 times 27, 1080 x squared. And that's positive. Okay, so our expansion for the first three terms of 3 minus 2x to the power 5 is going to be 243 for the first term, minus 810x for the second term, and plus 1080 x squared for the third term. And that's part A answered. Now for part B, it says, hence, find the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of 4 plus x squared times 3 minus 2x to the power 5. So you're going to have basically 4 plus x all squared times 3 minus 2x to the power 5. Now that is the same as writing this. And we only want the coefficient of x squared. So I'm going to I'll write down 243 minus 810x plus 1080 x squared plus, we don't really need the rest. We need exactly what we had. It says the word hence. Hence means using what you just did. So always, whenever you see the word hence, always look to see what the previous question was and look for a link between that and the present question. And you can see the link very immediately that this is the same as what we just expanded. Okay, so we can therefore just rewrite this as what we just got there. And we only want to find the coefficient of x squared. So we've got to think about all the ways that we can get the coefficient of x squared when we expand these brackets. Okay, so when you expand this bracket, you're going to have 16 plus, you're going to have these two multiplied, which is 4x times 2 is 8x plus x squared. Okay, now when you multiply this bracket with the second bracket here, all we're going to concern ourselves with is the terms, sorry, that's 1080. Bad mistake if you left that there. Okay, did I write it correctly here? Yeah, I did. Okay, so be careful of copying errors like that. So 1080 x squared. So if we think about, we take the 16. If we multiply 16 by this, it's going to give me an x squared term. So if we consider about the x squared terms, we got 16 times 1080 x squared. That's going to give us an x squared term. Okay, and then 8x times the x term here. When I do 8x times minus, so I have 8x. So I'll say plus 8x multiplied by minus 810x. That's also going to give me an x squared term when I multiply this with this. And when I do x squared times 243, x squared times 243, that will also give me an x squared term. No other terms multiplied will give me x squared terms, right? Even if I continue this on, there'll be x cubed terms and x power 4, whatever. So these are the only terms multiplied together that will give us x squared terms. So I have to find out the value of these. So I have 16 times 1080. So this times 16, that gives me 17,280. 17,280 x squared plus, and you have 8x multiplied by minus 810, so 8 times 810. It's going to be negative, actually, negative 6,480. That will be negative here. What's happened there? Negative, what was it again? 6,480. That'll be the next x squared term plus 243 x squared. So let's combine these together. So we have to add these like terms. So we have 17,280 minus 6,480, sorry, and then plus 243. That gives us a total of 11,043. Okay, so that's 11,043 x squared. Therefore, the coefficient, now be careful not to write the x squared with it, of x squared is 11,043. And there's the answer to the question. They're only asking for the coefficient of x squared. You don't have to write down the expansion of all the other terms. You only concentrate on the x squared term because they're saying find the coefficient of x squared. You don't want to be wasting time, right, doing the whole expansion. Okay, so hence means using your answer from before. So we use the expansion of what's before, and we think about the different ways we can get x squared terms when we multiply these numbers, and we write down just the coefficient of x squared. If it says find the x squared term, Then you write it with the x squared there. It says find the coefficient of x squared. It's just a number multiplying it. And it's possible that you might lose marks if you wrote the x squared term in that place instead of just the coefficient. All right, so that concludes question number 3. I think that was it for 3. 4 is on a separate video. So other questions that you might want me to see, or you might want to see my solutions for from this particular paper, you will find them in the playlist that will appear at the top right of the screen at the end of this video. Other questions from the topic of binomial expansion from my P1 collection of Cambridge, you can find those in the playlist in the bottom right of this screen. And questions from my P2 binomial expansion from Edexcel, you'll find them in the playlist over here. They're very similar type of questions, so they would be useful for you to watch and practice. And you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on this link. Thank you for watching and see you soon.